Gamin4Hope is extremely stupid, and I don't mean that lightly. I mean the kind of stupid where every single bad thing that has happened to this man, and trust me, a lot has happened, was either caused by the fact that he cannot let things go, or it's because he has a very fragile ego that turns him into a ranting maniac the second someone pushes back on him. But here's the thing, all of his antics have done nothing but turn him into Overwatch's biggest Lolcow. And the reason I say that is because when you actually sit down and trace the story of how David became Gamin4Hope, you start to notice something. The man is not evil. He's just plainly, consistently, and almost impressively stupid. And today we're going to be going through all of that, starting from before the stream, before the fucking persona, because you cannot understand where Gamin4Hope is now without understanding where Gamin4Hope started. And trust me, where David started is fucking crazy.
I neglect my children. I'm anti-LGBTQIA+. I'm a Nazi. Apparently I'm still considered to be a member of the KKK. I am unemployed. I groomed my wife.
See, before David ever put on the toxic positivity godly streamer content creator persona that we all know him for today, he was just a regular guy working at a radio station. Simple enough, except David has never really been the one for simple decisions. His boss at the radio station, after talking to him about his love life, told David he had to marry the girl he just met, a woman that he had only been on 2 dates with, or get fired. And what did David do? He married her, a near complete stranger, because his boss told him to. Now, before you say, well, maybe it worked out. Nope, it didn't. They divorced now. After that, David met his second wife. And once again, instead of taking his time and making a sound decision for himself, this motherfucker got pressured into marrying her too, this time by his own parents. Now, I know what some of you are already thinking. What does any of this have to do with his stream or content? And the honest answer is nothing. Yeah, you got me. You got me. But I need you to hold on to this information. I need you to see the pattern I'm showing you, because you're going to see it come up over and over again. David doesn't hesitate. He doesn't think about consequences. David reacts. And the people around him, whether it's a boss, his chats, his parents, or even a troll, have always been able to steer him straight into a wall. So David starts working at a bank. He has his wife, he has his 2 kids depending on him. And then David gets it into his mind to start thinking, wow, how about I quit my job and pursue a career as a professional Overwatch player? Let me say that again. This man with a wife and 2 children with actual financial responsibilities looked at his wife dead in the face and decided, nah, I want to go pro in Overwatch. I no longer want to at the bank. This motherfucker didn't even consider it as a side hobby or a passion project. This guy switched careers from working at the bank to being an Overwatch pro. He didn't even make it. Now, let me ask you the same question I ask myself every time I think about this. Does any of this sound reasonable to you guys? Any of it? Because the community's response to this was pretty much exactly what you would expect. People started pointing out the obvious disconnect between someone living that financial reality and deciding that chasing Overwatch pro play was the plan. And it did not take long for things to start to fall apart. His dreams of going pro crashed and burned, and David, now short on cash, ended up moving into his wife's parents' basement. But here is where it gets interesting, because even at rock bottom, David managed to build something for himself. He had fans, he had a community, he had trolls showing up on the regular, which, whether you like it or not, is some form of engagement. This was his moment, the one real chance to stabilize, focus on his audience, and actually grow something sustainable. But naturally, instead of doing that, David started going on a tirade, started banning people. Constructive criticism, ban. Someone pointing out something he didn't want to hear, ban. Call him a chod, ban. Now, here's where David fully transforms into Gamin4Hope. This is where the hypocrisy really starts to kick in. Gamin4Hope is a deeply conservative man living in Missouri, and this man is fully embedded in what I can only describe as the insane American religious media ecosystem. And I genuinely sometimes wonder if David is even aware of how he comes across when he takes certain stances, because the gap between who he presents himself as and the things he actually does is enormous. Take the Venture situation. For those who don't know, Venture is a non-binary hero in Overwatch 2 who uses they/them pronoun. Gamin4Hope made an announcement saying, oh, he would be using Venture's preferred pronouns. And look, on one hand, good, common courtesy. I don't think it requires a public announcement, but since the bar is currently so low that just not being actively hateful gets you a gold star, I think it's okay he gets credit for it. Also, since the Christian community kind of came at his neck after it, I think it's funny. But my problem is, almost immediately, David turns around and does a 2-hour stream glorifying Charlie Kirk. Charlie fucking Kirk. And then there were his comments on Renee Good. If you don't know, Renee Good was murdered in cold blood, and David, whether knowingly or not, tried to advocate for those people, for the people and organizations connected to her death, supporting the type of people and institutions responsible for something like that, while also presenting yourself as a positive, inclusive Christian streamer. It's not just hypocritical, it's a fundamental failure to understand your own stated values. In other words, you're a fucking dumbass. This is the core of what makes Gamin4Hope a Lolcow, and not just a regular bad streamer. It's not one thing, it's the constant, never-ending contradiction between what he says and what he actually does. Okay, let's play a game. I'm gonna read you a list. All I want you to do is ask yourself, does this sound like something a normal person would do? Or does this sound like an insane dumbass who's just going from one mess to another without even stopping to think? David has faced accusations of being anti-LGBTQ. He has been called out for supporting a conversion therapy charity, the same charity that cost him his very first sponsor, Wallhack, who publicly dropped him once the story came out. He has also faced racism accusations and allegations of KKK affiliation. He has spent significant time on stream complaining about smurfers and boosted players in Overwatch ranked, and was then caught getting boosted himself by top-ranked players. He has even been accused of neglecting his children. He has been called out for rage-bait behavior, for having a victim complex, for constantly blaming teammates, and for showing zero improvement despite receiving actual coaching. Yep, that's the Platt philosopher for you. He has used controversy as a growth strategy while pretending he's above that kind of thing. And like if wrapping all of it up in a nice Christmas present, he has consistently positioned himself as a Christian, positive, family-friendly, inclusive streamer while doing every single fucking thing on that list. Now, the question I keep coming back to is, does this nigga do this knowingly? Is David doing all of this on purpose, riding his 15 minutes of fame and making calculated bad decisions just because he knows the controversy keeps people watching? Or is he genuinely just too unaware to see the gap between who he says he is and what he actually does? Honestly, I do not know. Only David can answer. But what I do know is this: the pattern started before the stream. It started with a guy who married a stranger because his boss told him to. And it continued with a man who quit his stable job to go pro in Overwatch, with a full family counting on him. And he has never stopped, not even one. Gamin4Hope isn't Eve, but he might as well just be the most consistently, reliably worst decision maker that Overwatch content has ever produced. And somehow that has made him a meme. Hopefully he's just too, and can actually learn from his mistakes, but only time will tell. If you've made it this far, I want to ask you a question. Do you think David knows exactly what he's doing, or is he genuinely just this stupid? I want to know what you guys think. Thank you for watching and subscribe.